And that's it. That was Leisure Suit Larry 2. Thank God. So,
I'm just glad I wasn't playing it.
right? I wish I hadn't been. So you've now seen the first 2 Larry games. I mean, you've never done any adventure games before, but you've now seen one, the recent remake of one, I should say, and 2. What do you think so far?
Well, I think if I had started out with the game like the second one, I would never have played adventure games ever.
And can you imagine actually playing that game without ever being able to look at a walkthrough? Because we're talking pre-internet.
Oh god, there was time before the internet. No, I would have just given up like immediately.
Now, when I was playing it, obviously, I was playing it fairly directly, which meant I was picking up items before I knew they were there, and I was solving solutions before I knew what the problems were. And as you saw, basically the way to properly play this game is to die a lot, and then figure out how to avoid that death.
Yeah.
It's a horrible way to play a game.
Especially since dying in video games is usually bad. Like, you usually don't want to do that.
Now, in Sierra games, it's very popular to put in these funny, comical deaths.
Mm-hmm.
And later in the Larry series, they make them better. In 6, whenever you die, you hit this button, and it just rewinds you right before you die. So now, all of a sudden, finding the deaths is fun, because they're comical, funny, and they don't cost you anything.
Right.
In 5, you can't die. 5's got problems. And in 7, you can't die, but you actually don't notice that you can't die. 7's a lot of fun. 3 has a lot of deaths too, but nothing like this. 2 is brutal.
Yeah, I think my least favorite mechanism in 2 is that if you don't pick up certain items, or if you have the wrong item, you have to start the entire game over.
And luckily we didn't have that happen to us. But yeah, no, it's super easy to have happen. Like near the end, we dressed up in the bikini. Well, if we had picked up that bikini top at the bottom of the swimming pool on the boat like an hour before, game over, and we wouldn't even have known. We would have been wandering around the island trying to pick up items, going, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, and if you'd saved like you probably did.
Yeah, if you didn't make multiple saves like I did, if you just stuck with one save game through the entire game,
you just have to start over.
Yeah, you're boned.
Like when we were playing a Lego Hobbit and you saved it at the wrong place and then turned the game off.
Yeah, that's a bug though.
Which hopefully they'll fix.
Hopefully. But they couldn't fix it back here because this was before the internet. This was before they could do patches. What they'd do is they'd release an updated version and you could mail your discs in and they'd mail you the new discs if you knew there was a new version to even get.
Mm.
So anyway, I think Larry 2 has a lot of humor in it. I think a lot of the comedy is a lot of fun. The plot is one of the more involved in a Larry game, except Larry's not involved in the plot. Which is kind of, it's kind of a funny idea to have a super complex plot going on that your main character is completely unaware of as he moves through it. That's a cute idea. I don't think it's executed well here.
Right, because you can't solve any of the puzzles without you knowing about the plot. And you can't do that without dying.
Exactly. And even because when you die, you restore the game, which means the death didn't happen, which means the character never learns what the hell is going on. There's a disconnect between you and the character. And in adventure games, in most games, the main character is supposed to be an avatar for you. He is your representation in the game. I am this guy walking around doing these things.
Well, I don't think anybody really wants to be Larry.
No, but that's supposed to be what he is. He's supposed to be your avatar in the game. There's supposed to be kind of a bonding experience that goes with that, which is, it's not present in this because we know all of the stuff that Larry never gets to figure out. So, I'd like to, aside from the technical issues of playing the game, I think that adds a disconnect element. It prevents you from really getting into the game because you spend the entire game doing things that the main character really would be like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? If the main character could talk to you, the whole game would just be him going, you want me to what? Why?
Why am I jumping off of this plane? What's happening?
Why am I getting off the boat? So anyway, that's Leisure Suit Larry 2. And next we're going to do Leisure Suit Larry 3, because we're doing it in numerical order. Wacky. Larry 3 is one of my favorites. It was the first one I ever played, and it kind of establishes a pattern that works for the rest of the Larry games, at least for 6 and 7, which is you take Larry and you put him in a big environment, but it's enclosed, a big enclosed environment. In this case, he's on the island. In 6, he's in a fancy hotel, and in 7, he's on a boat again. So, in this way, the game isn't so linear. You're gonna get there's multiple women on the island, and you can do a little bit here, and then a little bit there, and then a little bit there, which is great in a game like this when you don't know what you're doing. If you hit a dead end, well, I'll go somewhere else and try something else, and you'll get a little further that way. And then you'll go over here and you'll do a little here. As opposed to something like Larry 2, where it's just continually beating your head against a wall, hoping to progress just another inch. So, we will join Larry 3. After Larry 3, continuity matters a little less. There is some continuity from 3 to 5. And then it just completely disappears from 5 to 6. But the end of Larry 3 is treated as the end of the Larry trilogy, and in many ways was meant to be the last Larry game, except it was so successful it wasn't. So as we play it, you'll see there's that kind of feel to it, the end of a story.
I'm amazed that they managed to make a third one at all after the second one.
The market wasn't as saturated as it is now. There weren't as many gaming options. First of all, it was pretty much PC, maybe NES, maybe. I'd have to check the dates, but there weren't as many games. I'm surprised they took a risk on Larry 3. I'm glad they did. I think Larry 2 probably sold pretty decently though, because you don't know how.
But then everybody hated it.
Yeah, you don't know how rough it is, and it's funny. I said this in the last wrap up. Because there was that backlash to the sexual nature of Larry 1. So in Larry 2, you can't have sex. If you have sex, you die. Well, fans didn't like that either. The fans came out and said, hey, it's a Larry game. We want some sex in it. And at that point, I think Allo realized you can't please everybody, so I'll just please myself.
That's right.
There's a lot more sex in Larry 3. And it kind of sets the pattern for how Larrys go, where Larry thinks he's about to get laid, and then comic mishaps occur, but occasionally he manages to get lucky. So, do you have anything else to add before we move on? Are you excited about Larry 3?
Yeah. I'm hoping there will be more nudity. Yes.
But if there's nudity, I have to censor it.
Well, I'll still get to see it.
Yeah, make that happen. Yeah. All right. We'll see you guys on None Tonight Island.